web designer, have you ever worried about how do you set yourself apart from the competition in a super oversaturated industry? In this video, past Square Secrets and Square Secrets business student Ida Winstead is sharing how she carved out a space for herself in a really saturated market. Watch this behind the scenes interview to learn exactly how Ida stood out from the competition and got her ideal clients to know that she was the perfect person to work with.
Before I became a designer, I was working in corporate America. I was working for a grocery store in like their corporate office doing like communication stuff, and I really didn't like it. So I started researching, and Paige comes up really quickly when you're looking into Squarespace, and that just seemed like an easy thing to do. And so I actually started out as like a VA, and I made my own website for my VA business in Squarespace. And then I ended up redesigning it like 3 or 4 times within like a couple months. And I was like, hey, I actually like this a lot better than the actual like VA work. And that's kind of where it all started. No, actually, I don't. So I started out with Squarespace, and that's what I use for my clients, for myself, kind of everybody. And then for the longest time, I was kind of dabbling, or debating really if I wanted to switch my business over to a different platform. And then I finally decided to make the switch to Show It, really just because it made sense for my clients and my ideal clients and kind of like that niche that I was in, because they're all wedding photographers or in the wedding industry. And so they need a lot more flexibility with how they can show their pictures. That's really all it came down to for me. I still like Squarespace for how easy it is to use and how easy it is for clients to update. But I think for my ideal clients and what they were expecting, and then that price point I wanted to be able to charge, it made sense to make that switch for me. At the time, I thought I wanted to do Squarespace websites, and I'd seen a lot about Paige, and I knew that she knew how to like run the business side of things. And I was also really inspired by her 2-week process. And so I took Square Secrets business, and I still use that process to this day. Obviously, I've modified it a little bit because things do look a little bit different and Show It, and just how you have to design things takes a little bit longer, stuff like that. But I found that it's really worked well for me and my personality to be able to focus solely on one client at a time. And my clients really seem to love that as well. So that was my main thing there. It's like getting that back end side of business, like figuring out the process, like how do I want to serve my clients and how do I want to have that set up? Ooh, such a good one. So I have a couple that I landed like in Facebook groups, but I wouldn't really consider them like real clients. I mean, because it was like $500, and like looking back, it was a very unorganized, because this was before SSB, and it was just kind of chaotic. I mean, we made it work, but like you probably won't see those sites anywhere today. Yeah. So my first, I would say like a real client I met through, we were in a local community together. We were actually in Tuesdays together as well. And she was a photographer, and we kind of became friends. And then, the opportunity presented itself where she was like, so what do you actually think of my website? And, you don't want to be rude, but I was like, I definitely think there's room for improvement. So that kind of like brought up that conversation like in a natural way. And so for me, it was a lot about just being serving her and like being open to giving her advice just out of the kindness of my own heart, I guess. And then that kind of led to that opportunity to book her as a client. And then from there, I got referrals from her. And then that kind of just snowballed, and I started getting kind of booked out from there. So my ideal clients are wedding industry, more specifically photographers and videographers. That's mainly who I serve. And I at first didn't really have a reason why I like thought I wanted to serve them, but I just had this like, that's who I want to work with kind of thing. And I'm sure a lot of people do that. And so once I worked with a couple of them, I was like, yep, this is it. I love their pictures. Like, I think they're beautiful. And I love it's kind of like art. So they understand my side of things too, in a way. I found that they give me a lot of trust because they are also creatives. And so they're like, okay, I trust you, do your thing. I'm sure it's going to look great. And that helps me because, if clients are micromanaging, it can be harder to actually get to a good end result, just because you feel like paralyzed by that. But anyway, so I knew kind of that's who I wanted to work with. And so it was kind of like figuring out, okay, where are they? Like, where did they spend their time online? So I found a lot of them spend a lot of time on Instagram. So I started just building like actual genuine friendships with people on Instagram, like photographers, and also understanding like the industry. I always joke with my friends, like I can be a photographer. I can come off as a photographer up until the point of actually taking the pictures. Like, you don't want me taking the picture, but I know all their like terminology. I understand their booking process. I understand like their industry so well, to the point that I could be a photographer if I wanted to pretend like I was one, except taking the pictures part. And I think that is important too, because then they don't have to explain all of that to me. So they automatically kind of trust me more as an expert. And then with that too, there are some close groups for photographers, like educator groups and stuff like that. But I'm lucky enough now to have a couple clients in there. So anytime somebody's looking for a designer, they would all like kind of echo my name. So then my name is being dropped in there from multiple people. And then automatically you look like you're a pro and everybody wants to kind of hire you. So that was really helpful for me as well. Yeah. So for me, setting my business apart was a lot about connecting with my own story and kind of figuring out, okay, who am I? What do I do differently? And kind of just owning that. I actually met Paige at Creative at Heart a couple of years ago. And that was like a big shift for me, just being at Creative at Heart, because everybody was like, you have to show up as you have to be different. So I grew up in Norway and then I moved to the US after college. Kind of similar to Paige, I met my husband in high school here as a foreign exchange student. And then we ended up getting married. And so I moved here. And at first I just wanted to blend in and I didn't want people to know I wasn't from here. And then I kind of had that realization that doesn't work in business. You have to stand out, because if you just blend in, nobody's going to hire you because they'll just find somebody else. So I was really just like figuring out how can I blend in like my story being from Norway and kind of figure out how to like present that to people in a way that they would want to work with me. And then I kind of preach that to my own clients, which then again helps them be like, okay, yeah, I need to do that too, because they want to start charging more and they want to work less and they want to just stand out, because the wedding industry is also very saturated. And just kind of, that's kind of the approach I've taken to it. And I think a lot of my clients also appreciate, they're like, you're very honest, but without being rude. So I will tell them how it is. And so they always know that they're going to get the truth, regardless if they want to hear it or not, or if it's like, oh, it might hurt, because sometimes it's like, you want to say what you think everybody wants to hear on your website copy, or you want to look a certain way or pick a certain color, but then I'll be like, okay, but why is this? Right. And so I think that's helped me a lot too, in standing out and just people knowing that they can trust me to give them what they want, but also what they need. Oh, that's a great question. So I just want it to be simple. So I do either brain only, or they can come to me for brain and website design. And then from there, it's just kind of like an all-inclusive, like you get whatever you need to finish out the project in those 2 weeks. Kind of like Paige saying, like, if you have questions for me about business or anything like that, like I'm here for you. You have my full attention for those 2 weeks. And so I think people really like that, because they come to me as an expert on this side of things, because they're like, I need help. And so being able to tell them, like, I'm yours for 2 weeks, you can ask me whatever, I'll help support you. And I think people notice that too, because my clients always comment on, like, they feel like I'm not just somebody they hired, but they feel more like somebody that's coming alongside them for their team and like wanting them to succeed just as much as they want to succeed. So I think kind of structuring packages in that way makes it feel more of like a relationship and like a partnership, almost more so than just like a transaction that you're doing. Ooh, another great question. So I've actually been like consistently booked out this entire year. So I feel like I don't focus as much on marketing anymore, which obviously is such a luxury position to be in. And I realized that because like a year ago, that's what I dreamed of. Right. And I think things change very quickly. So I am very diligent in posting to Pinterest and my blog. So whenever I launch a new project, I always share about it on my blog. And then I share that to like Pinterest and social media and that kind of stuff. And then I always provide my clients with launch graphics so that they end up sharing about their project, which has always brought me some good traction for my own business as well. So yes, I'm helping them and like being like, okay, you need to share about this, but also really does help me because most of them will tag me multiple times and they'll talk about it in their stories and stuff like that. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier, my clients hang out on Instagram and photographers have a community amongst themselves as well. And a lot of them follow each other. So it is very likely that some other photographer or videographer will see that and then kind of that'll come back to me. And then I've done referrals in the past too, but I don't do those anymore because I just don't need to. Yeah. So working with me, my clients, they'll book me for 2 weeks. So we kick it off on Monday and then end of the next Friday. 2 weeks. Yeah. And I do branding first. I do branding the first 3 days. I present them with a brand presentation on Wednesday. Most of my clients, I think I have a 95% like yes rate. We just rock and roll. They all typically end up loving what we do and we don't really have to do much of revisions or anything like that. And then I'll work on a website Thursday, Friday, and Monday, actually. So I know that's a little bit different than what Paige teaches, just because I found that with Show It, I need more time. And then that second week, we do a lot of edits and stuff like that. And so I think my clients really appreciate that, because I know in the Show It community, not as many people work that fast. And I know a lot of people don't want to wait around 3 to 6 months to like be working on this website. And I realized, we're booking further out. So, obviously, you still have to wait a little bit, but I think a lot of my clients find that that's really helpful. And it's also helpful when your clients are busy, because they don't need to be like super interactive or active with it. Most of my clients just have to check in every night, and that works really well for them, because a lot of them have kids or families or other things that they're focusing on during the day. So they really love that. So that's kind of like, I think, what sets me apart in my industry or in my niche too, because I do it differently than other people. Yeah. So I think doing that, it's just focusing, putting your head down and actually doing the work. And I would say that I'm picky, but also not when it comes to clients. So I'm pro saying no to people that aren't a good fit. And I think so to hit my first 50K, I was very pro like saying no to projects, which might sound like counterintuitive, but for me, I think saying yes to the right project leaves more room to grow your business in a more strategic way. So I'm very like particular with taking on specific projects, and then also raising my rates. I do an incremental raise every single project, which has helped me a lot. One, with imposter syndrome, but then also just with the confidence. So every time I book a project, I raise my rates by like a couple $100s, and that's helped me get there too faster than I would have if I just stayed at one rate the whole time. So looking forward, obviously I'm trying to hit the $100,000 mark, which I think will probably happen by the end of this year, early next year sometime. So super exciting. Oh, absolutely not. I think design skills matter, but honestly, like I tell people, like my job isn't about design. It's about believing in people and helping people chase their dreams, right? And so, yeah, design is kind of like the tool that I use to do that, but it's more about how I show up in my business and how I serve my clients and really make them feel like seen and heard, and then translate that into design. Because I think you can be not a horrible designer, but you don't have to be the best. Because there are a lot of people out there that are going to be better than you. And sometimes it's just about finding your people and finding what they really need. And a lot of times that is just, we all want to be seen in the world. So it depends. So I actually, the way I schedule my calendar, I know Paige used to do like back-to-back projects. I've actually kind of put myself on a limit. So I only do 2 back-to-back, and then I take like a week off. My husband thinks I'm off, but I'm not. That's kind of when I allow myself to work on things in my own business, because it's so easy when you're like head down doing client work to forget about those things. And so I figured if I do it this way, I don't have to feel guilty or like I'm behind on anything. It allows me to fully serve my clients and then fully serve my business when I need to do that as well. So if I'm working on client work, I literally just work on that all day. Some days, it's 6 hours, some days it's 8 hours. It just depends. I also love going out to coffee with friends during the week. Like I don't want to feel like I'm chained to my computer. So that's important. And that's kind of how I've set up my business to work with that too. Oh, it's night and day, because I work for myself full time. So I have a lot more flexibility. Obviously, COVID is a little weird, but I can travel more if I wanted to, and COVID wasn't here. And I also just have more time to do what I want to do. And I'm not like answering to anybody else. So if I don't love something, I get rid of it or I change things. Like I have all of the flexibility in the world. And I love that. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's so easy to like look around and you see all these other people, like you're thinking like, oh man, I wish that was me. Cause I remember feeling like that. And like, there's no way I'll ever be booked out, or there's no way I'll ever charge that much for a project. And honestly, if you just put your head down and do the work, it will happen. It's a lot about like slow and steady. Cause I think we hear so much about those people who open their business and then they're like, oh yeah, I've been in business 3 months and I'm fully booked and I don't know what to do because I'm so busy. And like, yeah, that's awesome. But for a lot of us, that's not necessarily the story, but you just got to keep going at it and it will happen. And I think that's important to keep in mind. I would say do it, because you can go figure it all out on your own and it will take you so much longer. And if you really know that this is your dream and you want to work for yourself and you want to be a website designer, you really have nothing to lose, because it will give you those tools that you need so you can show up more confidently and feel like you're not so much of an imposter. And then that will allow you to grow your business faster and really chase after those dreams.
there you have it. I hope you found this video helpful, and thank you so much to Ida for sharing her story with us. We so appreciate it. If you're hoping to do something similar to what Ida did and build yourself your own profitable web design business, then why don't you take the same course that she did? You can join over 3,000 students in my Square Secrets and Square Secrets business courses. You can find all the details on enrollment at paigebrunton.com/courses. I'll also pop that link for you in the description below, and you can go take a peek at when enrollment is open next. And as always, if you found this video helpful, I so appreciate it if you can give it a thumbs up and a like. And then just know that I release new videos every single week helping you to become a website designer. So if that interests you, then be sure to hit subscribe and little bell button to be notified when new content drops. And that's all for now. If you're wondering what to watch next, be sure to check out these videos too.